Special Forces, Zipper Catches Skin, and Dada are the trilogy of records made by Alice Cooper that he refers to as his Blackout period. He wrote, recorded, and produced these albums, but has little to no memory of any of them. It all began, oddly enough, after attempting to get sober after a stay in a psychiatric ward. Despite some short-term success and producing an album about his experience there, from the inside, he began to relapse with alcohol, and had also begun using cocaine. In 1979, he went into the studio to work on Flush the Fashion. The album is not considered part of the Blackout period, as he still has some memory of the process. The record was a drastic departure from what he had produced in the past. There was a heavy influence from the New Wave movement. This could be a result of him working with Roy Thomas Baker as producer, who had previously worked with Queen and the Cars. Cooper said the inspiration for each track came from a headline from the National Enquirer, except for Talk Talk, which was a cover of a song from the band The Music Machine. The only single, Clones, was a modest hit, and the album itself did find an audience, despite its sonic departure from his previous material. There would be a tour for this album in America and Mexico. In 1981, he released Special Forces. The album was better received, but fans noticed something was seriously wrong. Cooper was thin and frail. He looked sick. As for the record itself, it included new material mixing punk with new wave. The theme of the record was military, as Cooper was a fan of the magazine Guns and Ammo at the time. It also included a remake of Generation Landslide from Billion Dollar Babies. Despite being labeled as live, it was done in studio with crowd effects added. Additionally, there was a cover of the love track 7 and 7 Is. A track would be listed but not included, Look at You Over There, Ripping the Sawdust from My Teddy Bear. It would see a demo release on the Alice Cooper box set. He would tour for the record, but only performed a few tracks from the album. The tour was a huge success, and would even see a French TV special made. A year later, the second album came, Zipper Catches Skin. Cooper spoke on the album at the time, stating, "Totally kill, real hardcore. The stuff I do has always been a lot like that. In fact, I invented a couple songs that were remakes of other songs, just for the purpose of attacking cliches. There are no cliches on this album, and I did that for a specific reason. Rock and roll right now is jammed with cliches." Years later, guitarist Dick Wagner would describe it as a drug-induced nightmare. Cooper and other members of the band were smoking crack while actively recording the album. There would be no tour for this record, or music videos. There would, however, be a cross-promotion with the movie Class of 1984, with the track I Am the Future. Patty Donahue of I Know What Boys Like fame had guest vocals on I Like Girls. The album did poorly, and none of its tracks have ever been performed live. The final album would be the darkest, 1983's Dada. For this affair, he would reunite with producer and writer Bob Ezrin. Of all the albums in the trilogy, this one is probably the most bleak in its outlook. There's very little of the Alice Cooper macabre fun, and more just darkness and doom, backed by his sound. He would later call it the scariest album he ever made. The album featured artwork inspired by Salvador Dali, whom Alice had collaborated with in the 70s. The album and its title refer to the artistic movement known as Dadaism. To put it very simply, art of nonsense to make no connection with its audience. The album does contain shreds of a narrative similar to Welcome to My Nightmare and Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. A single for the track I Love America was released in the United Kingdom, but outside of that, not much was done to promote the record. Much like Zipper, none of its tracks have ever been performed live. The reason for the lack of promotion and tour is thought to be tied to Warner Brothers being unsatisfied with the record. Regardless, the album would prove to be the last of Alice's until 3 years later with Constrictor. Not too long afterward, he would be hospitalized with cirrhosis of the liver. After getting clean, he would get his life back on track, and has been sober ever since. Over the years, these albums have been reevaluated, with some finding gems within them. The general consensus seems to be that the material is there, it just required a more focused and cleaned Alice Cooper to make them work. This is a sentiment shared by Alice, who says, "I would actually like to go back and re-record those 3 albums because I never really gave them their due. I love the songs, I just don't remember writing them. My subconscious was writing some pretty good tracks." In a way, it's almost like the 3 albums are demos or ideas rather than cohesive works. I'd like to see and hear Cooper go back and do them right, as would many fans, who can hear the greatness lying just beneath the surface of these albums from this incredibly dark period. The content on this channel is made possible from viewers like you. Help the channel grow by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.